Imagine this. You're attending a high stakes business meeting, and instead of hearing well articulated thoughts and concise sentences, you're bombarded with casual language,
Hey,
non
no,
sequiturs,
no.
and incomplete thoughts. It's like trying to decipher hieroglyphics. Welcome to the world of overly informal business communication, a trend that's not only confusing, but also highly detrimental to companies and professionals. In this video, we'll delve into the alarming statistics that illustrate the costly consequences of this phenomenon. We'll also showcase some examples of companies that have either mastered this or messed this up. We'll provide some actionable tips to fix
Oh,
this
no.
communications crisis. Before we dive deeper, let's start with some hard-hitting statistics that highlight this real impact and this real problem of overly informal business communication. First is a plunge in productivity. A study by McKinsey found that overly informal communication can lead to a 15 to 20% reduction in workplace productivity due to misunderstandings and misinterpretation. Second is a loss of credibility. According to a LinkedIn survey, 44% of professionals believe that overly informal language in business damages not only a person's credibility, but also potentially their career advancement. There can also be customer confusion. 70% of consumers have admitted to being confused or frustrated by overly informal language used in marketing and customer service communications, according to a study done by HubSpot. Here's some examples of good use of communication versus bad use of communication. Two good examples. The first, Apple. Apple's success isn't just about sleek design that everybody is after, but it's also about effective communication. Notice that their product descriptions are clear and concise, and they ensure that customers understand the value without having to wade through complex jargon or informal language that demonstrates incomplete thoughts or a lack of value to that customer. Tesla's another one. So although Elon Musk may have his occasional cryptic tweets or inflammatory tweets, when it comes to official communications and product launches, he does strike a good balance between informality and professionalism. He's kind of right in between, and that approach maintains credibility while trying to connect with a broader audience. Here's a couple of bad examples of communication in this respect. WeWork, they had financial turmoil that was compounded by their overly informal language in public statements, promising things like elevating the world's consciousness without clear business strategies that explain what this meant, left some investors and stakeholders totally bewildered. And then, of course, there's the infamous biotech startup Theranos, which used overly informal language in their promotional materials, if you've watched the documentary, perhaps to purposely mislead folks, and these later turned out to be filled with falsehoods. The result there, they had legal troubles and a tarnished reputation. So the examples we've talked about illustrate how the use of overly informal language can make or break a business. This trend, however, continues to grow. From corporate emails filled with emojis to executives presenting with incomplete sentences, it's time to recognize the detrimental effects of this communication style. And I want you to take a minute to comment below if you've come across this at your job recently, where a leader was trying to communicate a deliverable expectation to you and stopped in the middle of a thought or assumed that you understood backstory that you didn't understand because it was never explicitly stated. So, of course, informal language can often lead to misunderstandings, resulting in costly mistakes and inefficiencies. It can also lead to a loss of professionalism. Overly casual communication can erode a company or an individual's professionalism and their reputation, and also damage relationships with clients, stakeholders, and also internally within the organization. And it also can impair decision making. Incomplete thoughts and non sequiturs can hinder critical decision making processes, harming the bottom line. And this is mostly because many people are afraid to ask for clarification from a leader who is presenting incomplete thoughts because they think they must be the person missing something since the person speaking is higher up in the organization chart. So what can we do to fix overly informal business communication now that we understand the gravity of the issue? Here's a few for you to ponder. 1. Establish communication guidelines. You do this by creating clear communication guidelines for employees to follow, ensuring a consistent and professional tone in all your interactions, and then create a way to measure success against this plan. 2. Training and awareness is something great to invest in terms of how do you communicate effectively and listen actively. These programs raise awareness about the importance of clear, concise, and professional communication. Proofreading and editing cannot be overstated. You want to encourage thorough proofreading and editing of all business communications to eliminate casual language and incomplete thoughts, and syntax and punctuation and all the rest of those things as well. It doesn't hurt to take 5 minutes to reread an email you've put together to ensure that none of those potentially damaging elements are in there. Company leaders also should set the tone by example, by demonstrating professional communication in their own interactions. And of course, you want to foster a culture of feedback where employees can provide constructive feedback on communication without fear of retribution that I mentioned earlier. You want to be able to tell your leaders that you didn't quite catch what they were talking about and speak back to them what you thought you understood so that it becomes obvious to them they've left out part of the thought that was vital to the understanding. So to wrap this all up, overly informal business communication is not only a pet peeve for people, it's a costly problem that affects productivity, credibility, and profitability. By recognizing this issue and taking concrete steps to address it, these companies can avoid the pitfalls that have befallen other companies. The payoff for embracing professional communication is now clear to us, I hope, after you watch this video. It's enhanced productivity, improved credibility, and strengthened relationships with customers, stakeholders, and fellow employees. It's time for businesses to step up their communication game and reap the rewards of clarity and professionalism. So the next time you hear a business executive speaking in non sequiturs or using overly informal language, remember the statistics, the examples, and the tips we've discussed. Let's transform the way businesses communicate, one well-articulated thought at a time. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video informative, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more content on improving communication in the business world. Together, we can elevate the way we communicate and ultimately the way we do business.